It is Monday. Welcome to the Wise Guys. It's the night before the football team reports to fall camp, and then the official countdown begins to the season opener at the end of August. And we say hello to the folks on our live stream. We're gonna go global on the live stream tonight. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler, we're the Wise Guys. Good to have you with us. And already we got a lot of folks saying hi.
Yeah, it's awesome. As soon as we get on, bam, they're in. Dave and Blaine watching from Henderson, Nevada. Jonathan Ashcraft, Glenn Lumen, always on. Good morning from the Philippines, Glenn. We're glad to see you here on time, and we love it that you come on first thing in the morning. I think, isn't it 10 a.m. in the Philippines? Isn't
Feels
that what
like
Glenn, is what Glenn told us? They come on at 10 a.m. West Valley City's on the line. Shelley, Idaho, which is great. The home of Shelley, Idaho. Richard Hobbs, one of the great linebackers on the 84 team from Shelley, Idaho.
All right.
Ridgecrest, California, Rob. Dr. Ketch, always in from Vegas. Farmington, Utah's on the house with BYU Sports Addict. We love it. We love that you jump in. Justin, is that how am I say it? Lamoureux. Yeah, Justin Lamoureux from St. George. Hey, stay cool down there, Justin.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 100 in Salt Lake City for 4 days in a row here coming up, and around between 107 and 110 in St. George.
Nice.
It's crazy.
Wise Guys is presented by BradyPlus. This is the #1 global live stream BYU sports show in the world. Turns into our popular podcast, which will be out tomorrow. And we've got a few things we'd like you to do.
Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to our free email. Go to wiseguys.com, ysguys.com. And you can also watch all of our past content, every interview we've ever done over the last 2.5 years. There's some phenomenal ones out there. We'd love it if you hit that subscribe button for us, right, Dave? Because
Ding.
Hit that, but hit the subscribe button on YouTube as well. Both of these are free, and it helps us grow the family here. It helps us grow the Wise Guys family and keeps us going. You guys done a great job. We need you to not only, if you listen in and haven't subscribed, do that, but tell your friends about this.
Yeah.
Tell them about the live stream. Tell them about the podcast. And
if it's free, it's for me, and I'll take 3 on
Amen.
YouTube, ysguys.com, and Facebook.
Yep.
And then you throw in Twitch, it's 4.
Yeah. So join with us. Get your friends and bring them along.
Wise Guys, thrilled to have BradyPlus as our title sponsor. BradyPlus is the largest integrated provider of cleaning, food service, and packaging supplies in the United States with over 6,000 employees. BYU fans will remember it as Brady Industries. Now they've expanded to conquer the world, and it's BradyPlus. And it's BradyPlus, a whole bunch of companies, and we're happy to have them a part of our show. Some breaking news today. The First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints announced this morning that BYU will be adding a medical school with the major focus on international health issues affecting members of the church and the church's worldwide humanitarian efforts. A medical school at BYU.
Yeah, it's an awesome announcement. I've wondered why BYU hasn't done that, and I think it's amazing, and I love this emphasis to help places around the world. The medical school, they're not going to have a like BYU University Hospital, like the U of U, or a hospital system like the University of Utah. There's no announcement on where it might be. There was an announcement that they're going to be affiliated with Intermountain Healthcare, some type of a project with Intermountain Healthcare where they'll use those facilities for rotations.
It feels like the former Provo High School property is destined to become the medical school. One across the street is Utah Valley Regional Hospital, and that whole medical area, it just seems like a natural fit. As soon as the announcement came that there was going to be a med school, I just sat there and I thought, well, I know one place where everyone's going, hey, there's a lot of space here. What are they going to do?
There's building space. There's everything they need right there. BYU President Shane Reese calls it a big day for the university. And Utah President Taylor Randall, a BYU grad, of course, says the University of Utah will collaborate with BYU to help meet local and international needs. So a little collaboration there between the two medical schools where they can help one another out. And hey, don't forget,
two presidents.
Both President Randall and President Reese will be on this show on Monday, August 19th, the head of the BYU and Utah reuniting in the Big 12
That's going to be a great show, and now
they're,
we've got
they're
a lot of
bringing them
things
in
to talk
studio
about.
too, right? Both
They'll
are going to be
sitting right over
here.
there.
We'll have them here,
and we'll be over here.
And we don't need to separate them because they're friends.
Yeah,
so
they're friends. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk a lot about the there is more similarities and things that BYU and Utah do together than anyone has any idea about.
Yeah. And
it's not just about hating each other over football.
This is going to be one of them. And in the announcement, there was this big emphasis on international medicine. It struck a chord with me. We were, as most of you know, we were gone on vacation. We were in Spain and France the last couple of weeks. We decided in Mallorca to not go to the beach by where the port was because it was packed.
Yeah.
So we took a cab 30 minutes out of town to a beautiful little cove with crystal clear water, and we hiked down into the cove. There were a lot of people down there, and we had this phenomenal day on the powder sand sugar and the clear waters. And then we came back up because the person that took us out in the taxi told us, you just call for a taxi. And we had to be back on our ship in 90 minutes. And when I called the taxi company, they said, yeah, we can have somebody out there in about 90 minutes. They could have them out there in 90 minutes. I actually had a panic moment where I looked at Brenda and I said, "Hun, we're missing. We're gonna have to fly to Ibiza, and we're not gonna make the cruise. There's no way we can make it back."
The ship had almost sailed.
And this young couple with a baby kind of heard us talking on the phone, and the wife in broken English said, "Do you need help?" And we said, "Yeah, we can't get a ride back to our ship." And she said, "We'll take you. Where do you need to go?" And I spoke to her in German because her German was better than her English.
Yeah.
The husband pulled around in the car. He said, "Oh, absolutely. We'll take you wherever you need to go." So they drove us back into the town, Brenda and the mom and the baby in the car seat and the husband and I in the front, and he loved practicing his English. I tell you this story because we found out she was an OBGYN physician from Paraguay. They were living in Germany because she can't make a decent wage as an OBGYN physician in Paraguay. So they left and they went to Germany. And the moral of the story is there's good people in the world, because Brenda asked as they dropped us off, she said, why did you come over and talk to us? And why did you feel like you needed to reach out to us? And he said, when we were growing up in Paraguay, it's a small country, and we were taught by our parents that everybody's family, treat everybody like family. When people need help, you give them help. And that's what you're supposed to do. And we're like, wow. We're all the way over in Mallorca, and we learned a great lesson that there are great people in the world. And when I saw this announcement, I thought places like Paraguay and Uruguay and Argentina, where the church is growing like crazy, need great medical care. Yeah. And that's part of the mission of this new BYU Medical School. So
I think it's exciting.
So great experience for us. Good people out there, really great people.
It's nice that you strengthened our international relations.
Yes, and you want to know what? We took each other's numbers, and they said they want to come to Utah someday. We said, you need to call us, and when you come, you have family here in Utah, we'll take you wherever you want to go.
Nice.
So,
well, when they show up at the airport and they say, we'd like you to take us to Grand Canyon.
Well, I'll take them.
Okay, let's go.
Do you want to know what?
Road trip.
They saved me thousands of dollars. I would have had to fly to be like, I will take them to the Grand Canyon.
That's good. That's good. Here's what we got coming up on the show tonight. The Cougars report to fall camp tomorrow, and there's a quarterback battle. We'll visit with BYU insider Jeff Hansen of 24/7 Sports. He knows his stuff, and he's just moments away.
Yeah, BYU in their basketball program is top 10. In what category? We're going to tell you a little bit later in tonight's show.
That's a teaser.
Yeah.
And women's soccer, their last match was in the College Cup, which is the basketball equivalent of the Final Four. Their next match is next Wednesday in the 2024 season opener against Utah Valley. BYU soccer coach Jen Rockwood is going to be live with us in just a bit.
I love having Jen on the show.
It's time.
Because she always just tells it like it is. Like, she's like, yeah, we're good. Expectations are high, and we're talented.
She said all that stuff because she had all those seniors last year, and then they graduated.
I'm interested. And here's the thing.
I hear something different.
I'm just gonna. We haven't even talked. I haven't talked to Jen for a little bit, but I know she knows she's got talent, but it's going to be young this year. So I'm interested to see how she thinks they'll compete this year.
They got a great schedule. All that's coming up here tonight, and some tidbits along the way where you go, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But we all know that tomorrow is the first day of fall camp for BYU. The team will show up. You have shown up on a number of opening days. So what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, so here's their schedule for this week, basically. They report. Tomorrow is like all the administrative stuff. So they come in, they get physicals to make sure everybody's healthy. They go to a compliance meeting where administration, Tom Homo's staff talks to them about compliance and what you can and can't do and what you do to stay out of trouble. They're going to have a meeting where they're going to talk about orientation. this is fall camp. This is the schedule. This is what we expect out of you. They're going to break into offense and defense. So I have a team meeting, offense and defensive meeting, position meetings tomorrow. That's all tomorrow. Tomorrow's all about meetings and just getting kind of back. They'll issue gear and everything tomorrow. You're going to get those. If you're a brand new guy in the program, you get those brand new beautiful shoes.
Nice.
And that beautiful new helmet and all. Like, they just take the stuff right out of the box and hand it to you shiny and new. And
it's like we've been in there. It's like a 7-Eleven of stuff.
Of everything you can ever imagine. So that's all tomorrow. And then they have 4 acclimation days as part of fall camp as required by the NCAA. So you have 2 days where you can only wear helmets. So you're just in shorts and T-shirts and helmets.
So when we see them Wednesday, they'll just be in helmets.
They'll just be in helmets. Yeah. Wednesday and Thursday. Friday and Saturday this week, they can be in what they call shells. That's shoulder pads and helmets. So no pants and pads in the pants. So you step it up a little bit after 2 days where the offensive and defensive linemen can thud one another. You can kind of come and wrap it back up. You can do some little bit of hitting drills a little bit. But really it's just a step up. Next Monday when they come back.
It's on.
That's the first day they can go full pads and actually like hit people. And if they wanted to, they could tackle to the ground on Monday. I don't think they would on Monday. They try to limit that to just a few times during fall camp to keep people healthy. But yeah, so that's the schedule. 2 days in helmets, 2 days in shoulder pads and helmets, Sundays off. Monday they're back at it, and it's full go on Monday.
Well, tomorrow is full go for After Further Review. It's the season premiere on the BYU TV app and BYUtv.org. It's the touchdown show. We're going to look at all the touchdowns and have a good time. All the touchdowns from last season, and we'll have a good time. David Nixon back with us, all the band back together. And then when the regular season starts, by the way, After Further Review will also be available on ESPN+.
Right.
So wherever you are around the world, it's on the BYU TV app and ESPN Plus, and you can watch it every week. Now, before the regular season, it's just the BYU TV app and BYUtv.org. But we're excited to amp it up tomorrow. I can't believe it's here, but yet at the same time, we've been talking about it for about 30 weeks. So I guess it has to come
but you
at
know
some
what?
point.
It's going to be 100 how many days this week? And this is when football starts.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep the air conditioner rolling, and it'll feel like football.
You know what? I wish they had like a viewing area at practice where we could sit in an air conditioned box and watch.
Yeah, with some beverages.
Because it's kind of tough on
some
me.
light snacks.
It's kind of tough on me.
Hey, the Texans and the Bears kick off the NFL preseason Thursday night.
How about that? That's this week.
ABC, ESPN, and Max Tooley, remember, he's on the Texans.
That's right.
So we'll see if he gets some time in there and tries to mix things up, make a name for himself.
That'll be fun. Hey, don't forget about BYU Sports Nation Game Day. The season premiere is on August 31st, 4 o'clock Mountain Time. That's on BYU TV and ESPN Plus. And that leads right into the game. So we're going to give you 2 hours of pregame on BYU TV and ESPN Plus. Dave and I, along with Dave Nixon and Brian Logan and
Austin Colley.
Austin joins
Spencer
us. Spencer. We have other guests that rotate through during the year, I'm sure.
On that show, we're going to hear from the starting quarterback, whoever it is.
That's right.
Kalani Sitake, and it'll be a celebration of life with the Rock out there on the street where everyone gathers to watch game day before we go into the stadium.
And Spencer will be in the stadium all the time. So we're going to bring you inside the stadium. We're going to be right outside the stadium where all the action is happening before the game. And don't forget to come back after the game for our live post-game shows. We spend about an hour with you post-game every week. Put BYU's schedule down, whether it's home or away. Mark down 2 hours before that kick and come join us on BYU TV and ESPN Plus for that game day show. And then join us right after the game, come back, and we'll break the game down for you on our post-game shows.
This is a interesting time because all the NFL camps have got things going on. And after Ryan Rico signed a free agent deal with the Bengals, there are 23
that is amazing.
Cougars. I think it's got to be the most ever that are in the NFL preseason, and a lot of them are locks to make the roster, and then some of them are giant question marks.
Yeah.
Like Zach Wilson feels like a question mark with the Broncos, and I don't know what's going on with Jaron Hall.
With Zach Wilson, though, the contract is such that he's not going. Like, the question mark is, can he push for a starting job or be the primary backup? Like, he's going to be on the roster.
I don't know. He hasn't had a great he hasn't ever. The reports out of Denver is he hasn't had a great week over there, and everything's so fickle. And you got you got Darnold from the Jets. He'll be the starter, and you got Nix, who they're going to bring along. And then do you keep 3? And does he get a dress on Sundays?
You usually keep 3.
And they got Stedman over there, who's been playing well. I think it's thin ice.
Yeah.
And then everything you hear from the Vikings, you hear about everybody but Jaron Hall. I got a weird feeling about that one.
Quietly doesn't get even talked about. Didn't last year really, but he was there on the roster. So now there are guys on that roster that are like our sure things that not only are sure things, they're pretty much sure things if they stay healthy to be in the Pro Bowl. Let's start with Fred Warner with the Niners.
He's in.
Yeah. Like any question on Fred Warner? He's the best linebacker in the National Football League.
No.
So, and then Taysom Hill. I don't think there's any question about Taysom.
Nope.
People are talking Hall of Fame for Taysom because he's so unique in what he does.
And he's seeing time at fullback.
Yeah, that's Mr. Everything. Who was it? I think wasn't it their quarterback? Wasn't it Carr? Who was it that was saying?
Is it Derek Carr?
I think was it, or it was. I think it was Derek Carr that was saying
he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He's a Hall of Fame guy. I've never seen anybody like he's the best. He says he's the best football player I've ever laid eyes on. So, then you got Kyle Van Noy.
He's in.
Yeah, he's in with the Ravens.
Signed a 2-year deal.
Jamal Williams not going anyplace.
No.
With the Saints. I just saw a video clip of him on Instagram where he was telling kids, "Believe in yourself." He's one of the most inspirational players in the game.
Yeah, he's Mr. Good Times.
Puka Nacua is not going anyplace, right?
Nope, he's good.
So, you talked about Zach and Jaron. Tyler Algier, he's solidified
solid.
himself.
He's solid,
right? Dax Milne's been. It's hard to say, but he's quietly carved himself out a pretty solid career.
Yeah, they got a new staff, so we'll see if the new staff likes Dax fielding punts and doing things.
Brady Christensen's not going anywhere with the Panthers.
He's good.
Sione Takitaki just signed with the Patriots, 2 years, $6.6 million, so he's not going anywhere.
No.
Right?
Kyrus Tonga, the Cardinals.
Just signed with the Cardinals. Michael Davis, he's with the Commanders now, but Michael Davis was a multi-year starter in this league. Yeah. Veteran corners are hard to find, so he's not going to any place. Kingsley Suamataia. I'm hearing decent things for him in his rookie season out of camp.
I think we're going to see him battle for some starting time.
With the Chiefs, right? Yeah. Blake Freeland.
He's in.
He's a starter.
Keaton Slovis.
Who knows? I love his makeup to play in the NFL. If he can stay healthy, that's the key for Keaton. Zane Anderson, he's carved himself out a respectable career.
He's having a decent week.
He's a veteran now with the Packers. Max Tooley, we're going to see him this week, as you already mentioned.
Aiden Robbins with the Browns, situational. Caleb Hayes with the Giants. Chris Brooks with the Dolphins. Now, he had some productivity last year with Miami.
Yes, he did. Chris Wilcox with the Chargers. So, he's got to go make that squad. And Ryan Rico, as you just mentioned, just signed. It's the same Bengals that signed Lee Johnson all those years ago. Can Ryan carve himself out an 18 or 19-year career like Lee?
I hope so.
I hope so, too.
I hope so. Next week on the show, we'll talk about the preseason games and where you can see these guys.
Yes.
It's just the one game with Thule on Thursday night. Our first guest tonight is ready to have summer over, and tomorrow's first day of fall camp is here and should take care of that. He covers the Cougars in depth as anybody on 24/7 Sports. Our pleasure to welcome Jeff Hansen back to the Wise Guys. Jeff,
hey,
good to see you.
How you guys doing tonight?
We're good. It's the night before. So what's the biggest question on your mind?
Man, Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
The biggest question that I have, first day of every fall camp, who's healthy, right? Who's hurt? You hear so many rumors throughout an off season of who's got what injury, and then fall camp is kind of the day, I guess the first day of camp is the first day that you really get to ask the coaches and have some level of transparency about injuries. You see who's on the field, you see who's in a boot. So for me, injuries is always the biggest thing. What do I look for that first day or two of camp is who's healthy and who's not healthy, and then what kind of rehab is it, right? Is it a real injury, or did somebody suffer a season-ending injury that we don't know about yet? I mean, those are the kinds of things I look for.
Yeah. Are there any that you're going, okay, I know there was some concern about an injury that we know of. Is this one healed up or not? Are there any where you're like, okay, let's see how healthy somebody that we know was hurt is supposed to be back, and we're wondering how healthy they are? Anybody like that in your mind, Jeff?
Yeah, so I got three that I think are pretty big names that we all are all kind of on pins and needles waiting for. Ben Bywater first. I mean, there's been reports that he might miss some time. I hope that's not the case. The defense got considerably worse when he left the field. So Ben Bywater's a big one. LJ Martin, obviously. I think LJ kind of came on to somebody's show somewhere and kind of put some of those rumors to bed. But until he's on the field, it's a question mark.
Right.
And then Siale Acera, we haven't heard anything that should indicate that he's going to miss an extended amount of time. But those foot injuries like he had last year, foot injuries are goofy. I mean, those take a long time. And even if you're back on the field, you might not be truly back. We saw that from Taysom his senior year. He was healthy, he was on the field, but he was noticeably different those first few games. So what does Siale Acera look like? Because I think he's a guy that could be an extremely big piece on this defense this year, especially if Bywater misses time. Those three guys are the biggest question marks for me, and certainly there's others, but those are the three headliners.
We wanted to talk to you a little bit about this quarterback battle. With the offensive development during spring ball, Jake Retzlaff and Jerry Bohannon. One thing about Bohannon that was interesting, because Dave and I we've had him both on this show, and talked extensively, and with Bohannon, and it's Gary. Did I say Jerry?
Sometimes it comes out Jerry, but it's Gary.
It's Gary. But with Gary, he was saying, hey, I'm limited with throws. This was back a few months ago. And in spring ball, as I was watching him, I'm like, he just doesn't seem right. Like, this isn't the same guy I saw throwing the ball at Baylor with the same velocity. But I got to go, Gavin, my son, took me, and we went over and watched the quarterbacks work out with John Beck, the first four guys. And I went, oh, okay, this is different. This is not the guy I saw in spring ball. This guy's throwing an 18-yard comeback on a line over under the sideline. And so now I'm assuming he's healthy and going to be in a better place to compete in the fall. With that in your hip pocket from me watching him, what's your thought on this quarterback race? Is it a race, or is Jake the guy, or what do you think?
If you would have asked me a few weeks ago, Blaine, I would have said Jake's the guy. And that's what I've said throughout the summer because I kind of had the same impression that you had coming out of spring ball of just, he doesn't seem like he's the same guy. I heard some people close to the program told me a few weeks ago that they saw enough of him out of spring that by the end of spring ball, while nobody was naming Bohannon the starting quarterback, nobody felt really comfortable that, hey, he's that guy, he's back. But they saw enough of him from the beginning of spring ball to the end to say this looks more like rust than somebody who's lost his talent. And I heard a few weeks ago from some players, some guys who were there doing some of the player run stuff that Gary looks different. And I think with that knowledge, and now, to hear you seeing it firsthand, right, Blaine, I think that it's a race. It's absolutely a race. And I think that Gary should be the odds-on favorite. He's just so big. He's so strong. He brings so much experience to the offense. If Gary's truly healthy, and until we all see it with our own eyes, it's a little bit of a question mark, but if Gary Bohannon is truly healthy, I think you've got to look at him as absolutely a contender and maybe QB1 by mid-August.
We had Cody Epps on BYU Sports Nation this morning, and we asked him that question because Cody's been catching his passes in lockers right next to him, and he said he's healthy and throwing and zipping and ready to go. And I agree with you at 6'3", 235 as a running option with a quarterback who can make the throws, and all accounts is that he's making the throws. That's going to be a tough battle for Jake to win in a league that's so physical, and you have to have a mobile quarterback. Now, Jake's not mobile.
No, he can run around, yeah.
But at 6'3", 235, and we've had the running backs in here, and they say, hey, Bohannon's as fast as any of our running backs.
Yeah, he's one of the fastest guys. It's
kind of like Taysom.
It's interesting, too. Dave talks about that. In the chat right now, Zach Thornton says, hey, Jake's the second coming of Max Hall. Now, I'm assuming he's come from this perspective of leadership, because what we've seen from him from a confidence and leadership perspective has really been off the charts. Like, he's really kind of taken charge, especially this offseason. And all indications are that he has great command of this offense now. Didn't throw a pick in spring ball. So they don't have the exact same skill set. They're like, they bring different things to the table. And don't you Jeff, don't you have to have two quarterbacks these days? Don't you have to?
I mean, at least, right? I mean, nowadays, with the way that the game has evolved, you've got to have two. You've got to have three guys, I think, that you feel really comfortable with. So, yeah, no matter who QB2 is, it's still a critical role for BYU. And I agree. Jake has that leadership role. You can even see it in interviews. You can see the way that he interacts with the team. His teammates respond to him. I don't know that I'd go full on Max Hall, but I get Riley Nelson vibes from Jake Retzlaff. That like the guys just played a little bit harder, a little bit different. Routes were a little bit more crisp last year, and I think you see that from Jake Retzlaff for sure. I think you see that from Gary Bohannon as well. That was one thing, whether it's USF or Baylor. People that I talked to when Gary joined the program at both of those schools, they all said, hey, locker room guy, that's the first thing that came out of everybody's mouth, is how much of a natural leader that he can walk into any locker room and there's just kind of a presence about him that everybody sort of responds to him. I think BYU has two natural leaders at quarterback, and that's a big deal.
BYU insider Jeff Hansen of 24/7 Sports is on the Wise Guys, presented by BradyPlus. All right, the offensive line is going to help whoever's the quarterback look really, really good or look like they're running for their lives. So what position battle are you looking for up front where once solidified, BYU can go toe-to-toe with anybody on the schedule?
For me, it's right tackle. There's a question about one of the guard spots, but I think there's enough guys in that competition that I feel good where BYU is at. But at right tackle, somebody really has to step up. Caleb Etienne should be that guy. He's got every physical tool that you want. He's got a ton of experience. He should be that guy. We just didn't see it enough last year. He was not consistent enough from a week-to-week basis that I feel really good penciling him in as my starter right now. Isaiah Jatta comes in from Colorado, and he didn't play much at Colorado, but there was a lot of dysfunction in Boulder. So we got to go back maybe 1 year before last year. And Isaiah Jatta was a near four-star coming out of Snow College, Auburn, Colorado. A bunch of SEC schools wanted him. He's got all the talent. At minimum, Jatta's going to push Etienne, and I think that's good. Somebody's going to rise to the top there. But whoever wins that battle and then how they perform those first few weeks of the season, that's going to be the biggest and most important thing for me along the offensive line.
Is Keim your other tackle and solid at that position as long as he stays healthy, right?
Yep.
It's interesting you mentioned Colorado and kind of dysfunctional, and I'm not using that word to describe BYU, but we had Connor Pay here on the show, and Connor just said, hey, everybody's better this year because we're more on the same page and we understand what we're doing. So I'm not saying dysfunctional, but it sounds like they did not play well as a unit last year and understanding what they were supposed to do. And Connor sat right here next to me, Jeff, and said, you will see a night and day difference in execution in what we're doing. Is this new line coach and new tight ends coach making a difference in that regard?
I think so. And if you look at what the coaches did immediately following the season, actions speak louder than words, right? And everybody said all the right things, but you look at what the coaches did. They didn't react and jump to the portal and add, 5-10 guys, right? They didn't make this mad dash that we need a ton of talent along the offensive line. They made a change at the coach. They brought in a new guy. They added a couple of players to fill key positions. But by and large, they're running it back with the same group, just with a different voice at the top. And I think what Connor Pay, what he talks about, and he's talked about it all offseason, is true. The group was talented last year. Talent wasn't the problem. They just didn't play well together for whatever reason. And there's a lot of reasons that it could be. I love hearing that from Connor. I think it's true. I think we're going to see it. I've never questioned the talent. The three, Braden Keim, Connor Pay, and Waylon Lapuaho, if you start with that foundation, you've got a pretty strong offensive line. Guys with a ton of experience, guys with a ton of talent. BYU's in a good spot from a talent perspective. I hope that it comes together better. And if you look at what TJ Woods has done, whenever he's had talent to work with, whether it was at Oregon State, Utah State, Wisconsin, he's produced elite-level results. His offensive lines have been phenomenal. It's been these places like Georgia Southern and UNLV where maybe he doesn't have that great talent to work with that his groups have struggled. I think everybody's groups are going to struggle at Georgia Southern and UNLV. Mm-hmm. And so now that he has more talent to work with, I expect to see more results closer to what TJ Woods did a few years ago earlier in his career.
Well, let's throw three other names at you. Hinckley Rapati, Miles Davis, and LJ Martin. If Martin, who we saw dinged up in spring, if he's not good to go out of the gate, is Rapati and Davis ready to carry that load behind that line with that quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that I would have warm fuzzies if those were the guys for 12 games right now. As long as LJ Martin comes back at some point early in the season, or week one, we don't know to what extent he's injured.
Yeah.
Then I think BYU is going to be okay. I really like Hinkley Ropati. It's easy to kind of forget about him, but because he was hurt last year, but he's back. He's healthy. He's good. When BYU found him, it was back when Jeff Grimes was here. And they didn't really have room for a running back at that point. But Grimes saw him and said, that guy's a difference maker. He just has got to find that opportunity and find some help. But he's still the guy that BYU went and made room for in the midst of a scholarship crunch because he's that talented. Miles Davis has showed us in bursts what he's capable of. The guy I'm most excited for in that running back room is Pokai Hawonga. He's the real deal out of Timpview. He's a return missionary. He came back a little bit early, so he doesn't have quite that mission rust that other guys have to work through. I think between those three, BYU can withstand a few weeks without LJ Martin, but obviously the group's better if LJ's on the field.
And we're going to see what status LJ, where he's at. We're going to see it this week.
Yeah.
When we see him out on the field. And
he told us, right, Dave, he said, I'm going to be ready for fall camp.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? I'm ready, but I'm not cleared to hit? I'm ready, but, and so we don't quite know what that is, and we're hearing anywhere from ready for game one to, it could be a few weeks, but nobody's talking about him having a season-ending injury. They're saying it's just taking, the amount of time to get him so he can be cleared to hit. So I do think, where you're saying, Jeff, you're okay with those guys for a while, but you want to have LJ back in. That's going to happen, right? And you add some of these others. What I'm excited for is everybody else that's been on. So Hinkley's been on here. And I had not known him before. He was a highly intelligent, very bright young man. And then he sat next to me, and Dave was making fun of me because he's the only guy that's come on the show and make your arms look like they're miniature.
Yeah, he had guns.
He is put together. I would not want to tackle him for 4 quarters. I can tell you that. So
and the knock on him, Jeff, is his health. We didn't even see him last year because of the ACL.
Right.
And the year before that, he was dinged up a little bit, had a little trouble holding on to the football, and that's what kept him out early. But then we saw him be significant in the Boise State win, in the Utah Tech win, in the Stanford win, and they won the bowl game.
Yeah, he just does so many things. I don't think he's ever going to be a 20, 25 carry a game type of a guy, but he does so many different things. He can handle the screen game really well, even though he's built so well. He's short, but he's pretty good in pass protection, so I think he's a weapon there. I really like Hinkley Ropati. I think he's a pretty well-rounded back. He's just got to stay healthy, and if he can, I think he'll surprise some people. And I know that he's won a lot of people over in the locker room. And when you listen to his teammates talk about him, they talk about him a little bit differently than they do some other guys. There's a lot of belief that he can be a very big part of BYU's offense this year.
Jeff, you mentioned Pokai Honga at running back. Earl Carr on our chat says, what freshman from this last class could see the field this year? And I realize he's not from, when we talk about him, he's not from this last class because he's back from a mission. Is there anybody that is going to be a true freshman this fall that in your mind, I can think of one, I want to hear what you think, that I think will see the field. Any that you are going, I think this person will see the field.
Yeah, I think Falatau Satwala will eventually. He's just too talented not to be everything he does. I remember I first saw him as a sophomore at Bountiful, and it was, this guy's different. And he only got better and better and better. He's also just kind of that natural leader that we talked about with some of these other guys.
Yes.
Falatau Satwala, he's going to find a way to impact the game. I think at minimum he plays special teams in that first few weeks of the season and eventually works his way into the rotation. Ephraim Asiata is an interesting one. He's got the talent. There's two things. In order for a freshman to get on the field, you got to have talent and you got to have opportunity, right? There's opportunity for Ephraim Asiata to pass rush, right? BYU needs a pass rusher. And so I think Asiata will find a way to impact games in obvious pass rushing situations really early on. I don't think he's ready to be a 3-down type of a guy. So I think of, early days, that freshman Sione Takitaki, that he couldn't stay on the field for 3 downs, but when he was on the field in those passing situations, Takitaki made an impact early on in his career. I think Asiata kind of fits that same mold. I guess he's not a freshman, but I'm really excited for what Sonny Tuwala can do as well. I think when he signed, I want to say he was about 255, 260 pounds. He's officially listed at 280 pounds on the updated roster. I think he's a little bit bigger than that. Sonny Tuala could end up sliding inside and not playing defensive end, but playing that defensive tackle spot, bring that big frame, that rugby background. He's super athletic. People have compared him to kind of a Ziggy. I mean, he's just a freak athlete. I think because of the need on defensive line, Sonny Tuala is another guy that could find the field early.
Yeah, I love that one, Jeff. And not a freshman, as you mentioned, because he transferred in with 1 year of junior college experience. Started playing football late because he's a kid from down the South Pacific, Australia, I believe. But I saw him in the weight room, and I didn't know who he was. And I literally stopped and went, oh, my goodness, who is that guy? Because he was probably 265 at the time. Shredded like a defensive back at 265, and have it on good authority that Gary Anderson said before he's done he'll be a 305-pound 3-technique defensive tackle and a potential first-round draft pick.
Okay, let's take that.
Yeah.
And I trust Gary Anderson's opinion on people. So
I think he's got that talent in him, and what I love about that is if you look at what Shoni Pua has done throughout his career, he's really good with defensive tackles. He's really, really good with defensive ends who learn to play defense.
yes,
and that is good. I mean, he's got that. He's just twitchy. He's not just a big body who's going to sit in a gap. He's going to make a difference from the interior of the defensive line. Sonny Tuala is the real deal. We're not talking about him collectively enough yet, but I think as soon as we start to see him play, everybody's going to be talking about it.
So here's my one freshman for you, Jeff. So mark this one down. Tommy Prassis.
Yeah.
I will not be surprised if Tommy is not starting at safety before the end of the year.
I think I agree with that. It was Ben Criddle was the first guy who told me that back in, it was just after signing day, maybe even before spring ball, and I thought he was crazy, but I think it's true. I think at minimum he's in the 2 deep. Jay Hill loves him. He's just such a smart football player. And if you go back to Jay Hill's time at Weber State, those safeties need to be really smart in this defensive scheme. They're kind of that captain who helps get everybody in the right spot. And Tommy Prassis has the trust of Jay Hill, and that's going to – he's got all the athletic tools, all that stuff. But if you have the trust of Jay Hill and you play the safety spot, that's going to go a long ways, and that will earn him playing time.
Yeah, he's a really twitchy, really – like his change of direction – his ability to stop out of a back pedal and break on the ball, his ball skills, like all those things that you kind of can't teach that you just come to the game with. When you watch him, and as I watched him through spring ball, my eyes just kept going to him like, whoa, this dude can just flat out play. And then I talked to Jay and talked to Gavin, and they're like, oh, he's a very instinctive football player. For a young guy, he's way beyond. And I'm thinking, this guy could get on the field. So he's somebody for everybody to watch. Sounds like you agree with that as well, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I do. I think Tommy Prassis is the real deal.
Our live stream's hopping tonight. Keith, hello from Kuwait, out on a run at 3:30
Keith Robertson.
a.m. He says, haha, it's the only time cool enough over here to get out for a run. Thanks for making it go by quickly. Love your stuff, Jeff. So there's a shout-out from Kuwait, Jeff, as we continue. A few more minutes with Jeff Hansen of 24/7 Sports. Live on the Wise Guys on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. How much pressure is on offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick to improve offensive production in every category this season?
A ton. The most amount of pressure you could think of, right? BYU is quarterback U. BYU, that's offensive football. And what we saw last year was not BYU football at all. And I think BYU fans, the patience for maybe a defense that needs to turn it around, there's maybe a couple years worth of a leash there, a couple years worth of patience. I don't think that flies on the offensive side of the ball. There's high expectations, and they've got to be met right away. And the biggest thing is there's not a lot of confidence yet in the quarterback room. And so I think that's been eating at fans throughout the offseason, right? They bring in Gary Bohannon, they bring back Retzlaff, and then they add a guy out of Utah State who I love. I love McKay Hilston. I think he's a dog and going to be a starter at BYU at some point. But none of those are those flashy 4 or 5-star type guys. None of the guys, like Keaton Slovis came in, and on day one, he was the quarterback. That everybody knew that. That isn't the case this year. And so I think there's this uneasiness about the quarterback situation, and the offense was just not good enough last year. I think Aaron Roderick has to turn it around really quickly, or those Boo Birds, they get really loud really fast.
Quarterback play is so important.
Yeah.
I keep telling Dave, and I tell him I'm not biased. It's the most important position in any sport. the most important position in any sport. So we'll just leave it at that. Simon Foos checking in from Highland Park, Illinois, saying go Cougs. And
he's got to be a Cubs fan,
yeah,
too.
He must be a Cubs. Defensively, Jeff, what are you thinking about on defense? What are you watching for that's going to be an indicator of either success or failure on that side of the ball?
Well, we talked about Sonny Tuala hopefully playing, inside at some point. That's where my eyes are going to be right away, is the interior of the defensive line. A ton of emphasis on pass rushers, right? Guys like Kini Lau, Fonahema, Asiata, we talked about. Tuala was a defensive end at one point. A ton of emphasis on pass rushers in the recruiting class. Not a lot on the inside, and one of those guys who was brought in, Danny Saili, he's already gone. So really the only guy that is net new to the defensive tackle room, at least on paper, is Luke Tuamalatai. That's an area that BYU struggled against the run. They got pushed around, especially in the back half of the season, and they're kind of running it back with the same group. I'm really anxious to see what they do there. I like some of the players there, and I think there's some edge guys like Tuala, maybe Blake Mangelson, who could slide inside and end up playing defensive tackle. But until we see that with our own eyes, and until we see them, really lock down a run game and control a line of scrimmage, the interior of the defensive line is for me, the biggest question mark. I really like John Nelson. I hope he's able to stay healthy. It's kind of been a theme that we're talking about with everybody. They got to stay healthy. If John Nelson can stay healthy, he's very, very good. And David Latu, I think, started to come on a little bit towards the end of the season last year. Beyond that, it's a lot of unknowns and question marks and maybe new positions. That defensive tackle spot is, I think, all eyes on the defense should be on the defensive tackle spot. Aside from that, I think BYU's they've got answers to their questions. We don't know what the answers are at defensive tackle yet.
Phil is with us from Cedar Park, Texas, on the stream tonight. Phil, thank you. All right. We're going to have you our 5 questions with Jeff Hansen. He's already done the 5 questions.
So we give him 5 different ones.
So
now.
He's going to roll out his top 5 Cougars in the NFL.
Right on.
And before we get to that, and Jen Rockwood is going to join us in just a moment, the BYU women's soccer coach. Opening night, Southern Illinois, August 31st. What do you expect to see from BYU?
I think Aaron Roderick is going to make a point to score a lot of points. They have to. They've got to find some answers at the quarterback spot, so I expect to see BYU. I don't think it's going to be a super vanilla game plan. I don't think they're going to hold anything back. And I expect to see a dominating performance, because that's what BYU should do against a team like Southern Illinois. And I think that the coaching staff, they've heard all of the frustrations all year. They don't like the sour taste from the end of last year. I think there will be some frustrations taken out on Southern Illinois that opening game.
Okay, that's a good forecast. That is a good forecast. 5 questions for Jeff. Tonight's 5 questions presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies. We've asked you to come prepared to name your top 5 Cougars in the NFL, starting at 5. And then taking us to Fred Warner at 1, even though I haven't seen your list.
We haven't seen the list, but as soon as we start in the NFL, we're like, he's the best player in his position. He might be the best defender in the league. Jeff can't come up with anybody but him, can he?
All right, number 5. What do you got?
So 1 we're all agreed on, but we'll do 5, 4, 3, and 2.
Number 5, I went back and forth a little bit. I landed on Taysom at number 5. I could have gone with Kyle Van Noy. I made an argument for Tyler Algier, but I landed on Taysom at number 5. And he just does so much, right? Yeah. If he was able to play more plays, I think he catapults up this list. But that role, he's just such a different player, and he has such an impact on games. I've got Taysom at 5.
I think the surprise might be that Taysom's not 4, 3,
right,
or 2.
But I like it. He's got to be in that top 5, so I love it. How about 4?
I've got Mike Davis. I mean, look, if you are he was a cornerback 1 for a long time with the Chargers. He picks up another contract, walks into a starting spot. In today's NFL, to be a starting cornerback for multiple teams, I think that speaks really, really highly of what Mike Davis brings to teams and how he's viewed by general managers and coaches in the NFL. I think he's underrated by BYU fans. I got Mike Davis.
Cornerbacks in the NFL are some of the greatest athletes, period, in any sport, and Michael Davis is one of those. So, number 3.
Number 3, I've got Blake Freeland at number 3. I think this is a big year for Blake. He emerged as a starter at the end of last year. I think he locks that down and is one of the better offensive linemen, certainly in that division and definitely with the Colts. I think Blake Freeland's got all the tools to be very, very good, and this is the year we start to see that.
I love it.
Together.
Former high school quarterback, now NFL left tackle. You got to love that.
Jeff, does Slovis have any chance of getting a roster spot with the Colts?
Man, I would love to say yes. I just don't see it. With a young guy and Anthony Richardson already, I don't know if they have another young guy on that roster at quarterback.
Okay.
Can we all just write in who number 1 is right now?
Well, he might throw a surprise.
Okay, are you going to throw us a surprise? Who's number 2?
Davis at number
I would
4.
love to throw you a surprise, but I think we all have the same 1 and 2.
Okay.
It's Puka at 2 and Fred Warner at 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what we had.
Now, those two are on two very different journeys. They're on offense and defense. One's brand new, and the other has solidified himself. But those are two big reps for BYU football.
Yeah, two very, very good players. In fact, you guys may not have caught this. I think it just happened right before I joined the show. The NFL's doing their top 100 players. I haven't seen where Fred lands. I assume he's in the top 10. Maybe he already was named in the top 10. But Puka Nacua checked in at number 33 on the NFL's list.
Wow.
So,
It's interesting. BYU's representation in the NFL, there's some really visible names.
yeah.
Jamal Williams, even though he has a little less of a role than he has, he's really visible in the league. Puka's crazy visible. Fred's recognized as the best defender in the league. And Taysom Hill is unbelievably visible. So it's good for BYU's name to have those kinds of players in the league.
Absolutely. I did think about throwing you guys for a loop and saying, hey, number 1's really Andy Reid. But I didn't go that route.
We wouldn't have disputed
We
that.
wouldn't have disputed, but he's not playing.
5 questions presented by Strategy Square. Jeff, where can folks find your stuff?
Check us out at CougarSportsInsider.com. I mean, we're covering BYU recruiting and BYU football all year long, basketball as well. But recruiting's what we do. So if you care about that, check us out.
We
do care about it.
We'll
That's why we have you on
soon.
more than once. So
Hey, we'll see you at practice.
thanks, Jeff.
Awesome. Appreciate
Jeff
you guys.
Hansen, 24/7 Sports, and really knows his stuff.
Yeah,
and so
he's
we
great.
love having him on our show.
Yep.
A lot of people think we know our stuff, and we think we do, and then we bring on Jeff, and then it just helps us.
We just fool ourselves
roll it all
sometimes.
out. Jen Rockwood, moments away as we set her up. The NCAA Scholarship Increases, part of the new revenue sharing model from the NCAA House settlement, which was announced on Friday, includes adding scholarships as early as next school year.
Right.
And for BYU, here's what that could mean. Football increasing 85 to 105, that's plus 20.
When I played, it was 105.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Then
it went down to 85, yep.
Baseball from 11.7 to 34. That's a game changer.
Wow.
Softball 12 to 25. Both men's and women's track from 17 to 45.
That's huge.
Women's soccer can go from 14 to 28.
Yeah, I want to hear what Jen says about that. But
Now, the schools have the option to fill those scholarships. They're not required to. But if you want to compete, you better.
Right.
But you got to also find the money.
Yeah.
And the way to do it.
There was another interesting change just recently with the NCAA where you can have unlimited coaches in football now. Do you know how there was like a certain number of coaches? Yeah. There's still a limit on who can go off campus and recruit, but all these guys that have been analysts, you can make those coaches now if you want to. So they're not limiting the number of coaches you can have on your staff. So.
How about this coach? Our next guest
Yes.
stands alone as the only head coach in the history of BYU women's soccer. Last year, the Cougars went 23-3, 7-0-3 in their debut season in the Big 12. They earned the nation's #1 ranking and reached the NCAA College Cup, a Final Four, for the second time in 3 years. Our pleasure to welcome head coach Jen Rockwood to the Wise Guys. And whenever you come on our show, we know something's about to happen. And in this case, a brand new season. Thanks for being here, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a busy day, first day of our fall season.
So did you guys do football where you come in orientation and physicals and all that kind of stuff? Was that what today was all about with the players?
Yeah, today was we met on South Field, took team photos. The girls did a bunch of promotional interviews for BYU TV and that sort of thing. And then we had a lot of our meetings with our support staff. So we have a lot of new players this year, and and they had a chance to meet them and get some information about all the different things that go on behind the program and helping the student athletes.
Well, thank you so much for letting us get a piece of your day. And we know you got a game on Saturday and the scrimmage, and then it's all on. But let's start with the word from the NCAA on that option for schools to expand scholarships for your program, 14 to 28 as early as next year. What could that possibly mean for a program that has been dominant with 14?
Well, I think there's always a good and a bad side to these big announcements the NCAA makes, and part of it is kind of not knowing how to maneuver through it. We don't have a lot of the details yet as far as when it starts, how we can use it, how the roster size will work from our fall season to our spring season.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different factors. I think one of the things that maybe some people don't realize is, yes, it provides more scholarship money for our sport, which is obviously a fantastic thing. But to limit the roster size will take away a lot of opportunities for players to come onto our team and to a lot of other programs who carry, I think most bigger programs carry upwards of 30 to 35 on their roster. And so for us, it means that we have some really tough decisions that we'll have to make in the next couple of years to get our roster down to 28. And then because we didn't know about it, we've already made our commitments for the 25 and 2026 class. So there's a lot of issues going on for sure.
So and we're wondering what the administration's, what advice they've given you so far. So to clarify this, I'm trying to understand it myself, Jen. You could have 14 scholarships, but then walk-ons to take the team total limit up to 35. So now what they're saying is you can have 28, everybody's on scholarship. So they're actually going to cut the roster size down on you.
Yeah, so soccer in the NCAA is an equivalency sport. So most sports are head count sports like basketball and volleyball and football. It's kind of all or nothing. Soccer equivalency sport, we have 14 scholarships, and I can divide that however I want. So all of our players, I'll have a roster of 31 this year, and we're actually proposed to have a roster of 36 to 37 next fall. So you can see where a lot of tough decisions are going to have to be made over the next few months of how we get that roster size down. So we're gonna, once we get our roster to 28, there's going to be more scholarship money to distribute to those 28 players. But now we're limited to only those 28, which it's a little tricky right now, not having a lot of leeway leading up to it. I think 28 is a good number, but kind of in our situation where we are with graduating 11 players and a lot of our missionaries to trying to balance those numbers, it becomes really tricky. So we're kind of in a cycle of a high-ended roster, and so to have it cut this year without kind of being able to ramp up to it, that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. Logistics.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, on the chat, Jen, BYU Sports Addict, who's always on the show, on the chat with us every week, he goes, is there any coach in college athletics cooler than Jen Rockwood? I think not. That's what he says. I think not. So that's awesome.
You got a lot of big fans all over the world.
Very kind.
5 players from last year's team drafted into the National Women's Soccer League after your squad led the nation in goals scored. Special season, tremendous success to recruit for the future. What was your favorite moment from last year before we start into this year?
Well, certainly the UNC win on Southfield in the Elite Eight, where we found ourselves down 3-0 and had to find a way to come back. But there's so many big wins and big situations last year with one of our best teams ever in our program's history, and an amazing senior class that we'll definitely miss. But I definitely would have to say the UNC game that led us to the College Cup again.
When you got down 3-0, and I know we've talked to you about this before, but it's so fascinating. Every sport had something really wild happen.
Right.
I mean, there's track and field and all that. You're down 3-0, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we've got Carolina, where they're on our field, and we're down 3-0 just like that. Were you thinking that, or were you thinking, we got enough time, and we're going to come back and beat them?
Well, for sure you're thinking, I can't believe that just happened. How does our season maybe end this way? Didn't see that coming at all. Really expected to win that game for sure. From the moment the whistle blew, but at halftime we just had to kind of collect ourselves and just say, okay, that did happen. Nothing we can do about it, but just had to remind ourselves that we're the leading scoring team in the country. That we average well over 3 goals in every game against just as good opponents as North Carolina, and that we had a lot of momentum going into the second half and probably should have scored a goal. and let's just go for it. And the girls really collectively just, kind of ran North Carolina out. They kind of ran out of gas, and that's been one of our strengths all year, is knowing that we can keep going. Had a deep bench, and I think really the girls were just believed. They believed in their team, the team and their teammates, and all of those who stepped on the field.
One of the great moments.
Yeah, it was awesome, and another phenomenal season. And as Dave mentioned, it results in 5 players being taken in the draft. Names like Katoa and Vaca and Mazinga, Shepard, Smith Griffiths, all from last year's squad. Then you add folks like Ashley Hatch and others to this. That type of visibility coming out of your program, how does that help your pitch as you're recruiting the top players in the country and really around the world to come join this program?
Obviously it's been huge for us. 2 Final Four College Cup appearances in the last 3 years has certainly put our program on the map more. We have been, up there before, but I think, with the visibility that we have in our new conference, and just with what BYU TV and ESPN Plus has been able to do, and we do have a lot of exposure. So, that's a big deal. We've got 6 girls currently on the Royals. They just picked up Ellie Boren last week, and she's played in 2 games already.
They might as well make you the coach, since you have 6 players on their team.
No, I like right where I am. No worries about that. But yeah, we just have to keep moving forward, and girls know that if they come to BYU, that they have that option if that's a road they want to go down. We've had several girls graduate from our program who are definitely good enough to get drafted, but that wasn't their end game. And so, they didn't do that. But girls know that if that's something that they want to do, and play at that next level and play at a place that will prepare them for that, we've certainly proven to do that.
BYU soccer coach Jen Rockwood's on the Wise Guys, presented by BradyPlus. Cougars are on a run of 6 straight NCAA tournament appearances, including those 2 trips to the NCAA College Cup in the last 3 seasons. You mentioned it a moment ago, the downside to having a senior-laden squad, one of the best in school history, is the following year when 11 graduate and 2 starters come back. So what are your expectations for the next 3 months ahead?
Well, we have a lot of excitement. We have a lot of work ahead of us. There's no question, being, out 11 players who were significant contributors. We have a couple girls that would have probably started that are on missions right now. And one of our top returning players tore her ACL over the spring. So, we're kind of minus 14 girls right now from last year's squad. But we have a lot of talent. We have a lot of girls who have trained with those players who have had that experience over the last year. And, they're ready for their time, and they've worked hard, and we're excited. Lots of new faces. We'll still play the same style, the same formation. It's going to be a learning curve for us, but just excited to get out there and see what we've got and get people in new positions. So there's a lot of exciting energy going on right now.
You mentioned new faces, 3 transfers, Mackenzie Vance, Van Hansen. Summers also joins that group. How important will they be, and can they have an impact right away?
Well, yeah, we definitely think that they can have an impact. Mackenzie coming from a program like UCLA, who was one of the top recruits to UCLA when she first went there. So we certainly know that she's got a lot of talent and experience, and we hope to utilize that right off the bat. So we also have a lot of young talent, a lot of incoming freshmen that we think will be immediately impactful in our performances and playing time and all of that. And we do have some good returning players who came off the bench for us, which was so crucial for the success we had last year, and their time to be starters now, and I think we have a lot of options, and I think that's the fun part is putting all the puzzle pieces together.
Abby Cotter back from her mission. She joins, as you mentioned, 8 freshmen among your newcomers. We know they're good because you're recruiting with BYU. Are they Big 12 ready? How can you get them Big 12 ready in the next month of exhibition and non-conference?
Well, that's certainly our plan and our expectation. Our expectation going into every season is to go out there, prepare, play a very competitive non-conference schedule. Currently have the 2nd hardest ranked schedule in the country, non-conference. And so, we're not going to shy away from challenges. We'll have a lot of good things to learn that hopefully prepares us for conference play. We obviously had a lot of success last year for conference play. So a lot of our returning players kind of understand that. But we expect to go out and win, We'll see what this group can do, but we always expect to win every time we step on the field. We expect to win a conference championship. That will never change. It'll be a different path to it. I think this way we'll have to find like I said, the right pieces of positions and style and that sort of thing. And we have a lot to work with. And our blue-white game is already this Saturday, so we'll be able to get players out in their uniforms and ready to go on Southfield.
It's awesome stuff. Home field. When you talk about Southfield, home field advantage, that's a real thing at BYU without question. 247, 29, and 16 at home, including 166 home field shutouts. How much can that home crowd help this young squad?
We're going to really have to rely on the energy and the excitement that Southfield fans bring. We've obviously been so well supported over the years, and there's no place like it in the country. And I think people had a chance to see that on TV, or those who came. Our grandstand is sold out with season tickets, so it's going to be a tough ticket to get. But we're going to rely on that energy, that excitement. Our players love to play in front of that. Gives them the confidence and the energy that they need to dig down deep and put on a great performance. We love to score goals. We like to play high energy. We like to play the game with possession, and so hopefully we'll put a good product and people will still want to come out and cheer us on. But Southfield is a huge advantage for us in many ways, and hope to capitalize on that this season.
See, Stanford's not on the schedule this year until postseason, right? They're not good because they drive me out of my mind. I love your style, Jim. When I watch Stanford park the bus in front of the goal, I just want to go punch somebody in the face.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, that was tough.
BYU
we played so well, just didn't the first 4 minutes cost us the whole game.
Well, and the first goal for Stanford, I was like, where the heck did that thing come from? From way out, big, huge, bending ball, but. Yeah, I just...
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, he's still not over it, Coach.
No,
I'm
not over it. We were there. Brendan and I were there. We come support you a bunch. And watching... When I watch a team, and I'm not hammering Stanford because they're always very good, right? So that's their style to win. But people that don't watch women's college soccer or soccer at all, they're different styles. And that style is not fun to watch. I'm sorry. And the style that you guys play with is fun to watch. And I imagine it's fun to play in. If you're a player and you're coming, you want to play with a team that's aggressive offensively and scores. That's got to be an advantage for you guys recruiting, is it?
Well, absolutely. And again, because of the exposure that we've received and how well we've done and the teams that we're playing, people want to play in that sort of system where, we go hard. We take chances. Sometimes it doesn't pay off for us, but, we're going to try and keep the ball. We're going to attack. We're going to press. We're going to play a high energy, fast paced game. We hope to be the most fit team on the field, and we want to put immediate pressure on our opponents and try to win the ball up the field closer to our opponent's goal so we can score some more goals. So it is a fun style, and we have a system that is unique that we've kind of developed over the last 4 years that it's really tough to play against, and it creates a lot more space for our players to attack that our opponents have a hard time trying to solve. And so that's kind of the X's and O's and fun of doing something a little unique and a little different that's hard for people to manage.
Hey, speaking of fitness and fun, John on the live stream says, thank you for the cherry Rockwood ice cream. He loves that.
Yeah.
So that's
is that up in the cream? That's named after Jen?
Yeah, that's got to be, right? You have your own ice cream. That's
when
how
you get your own ice cream, that's when you've made it at BYU. Yeah. That's awesome.
That was a few years ago.
That is awesome.
They're still eating it.
I'll have to go up and try it.
BYU soccer coach Jen Rockwood on the Wise Guys, head of the Cougars' second season in the Big 12. Last year's team ranked in the top 4 nationally in assists, shots on goal, goals scored, and the goal differential. So let's turn to the schedule a little bit. Saturday night, 7 o'clock Mountain Time on Big 12 Now and on the BYU TV app. It's the blue-white scrimmage. With so many new things going into this game, what kind of things will you be looking for?
Yeah, it'll be a lot different than obviously last season. Last season coming in, we had our whole returning starting group. So, we're gonna put people in some different spots, see how it works, look for different combinations. there's a lot to be seen. We'll do some 11-a-side prior to that, but I think just that anticipation that the girls have for getting back on South Field, playing under the lights, that's something that to get that pressure of putting on the uniform and preparing for a game. That's a pressure that most of these girls have not felt before, and so that's going to be part of the development process, is learning how to deal with the excitement and the enthusiasm, the energy, and the pressure and kind of the nervousness for a lot of these young girls who haven't played in front of big crowds. But we've got 2 exhibition games this season. We usually only have 1, but I felt it was important for us to have 2 to prepare for our home opener against Wisconsin. So we'll have 3 kind of good evaluations to kind of see where we are to prepare us for our first counting game.
Yeah, you mentioned those other season opener, really, also an exhibition August 7th at Utah Valley, right? And then a home opener, Wyoming at BYU on August 9th. That one is at 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
And those are both exhibitions?
Yeah, both exhibitions, right?
Okay.
And
yes.
and then we've kind of made a list of notable matchups. Wisconsin, that's a big one, coming to BYU on August 15th.
It's a big one for sure.
Place will be rocking there anytime you get the Big Ten to come out west. How'd you get them to? Did you agree to go back there at some point, or what?
We've done a home and home with Wisconsin quite a while ago. We haven't had them out here, and it just worked out. And they were willing to come out, and we're willing to go back. And obviously, that's a great home and home for us. They had a really great year last year, and obviously the Big Ten has very good quality, nationally qualified playing teams on there, and so it'll be a big challenge for us. And I think they return a bunch of players. I haven't watched them quite yet, but they always are competitive, and so it'll be a real true test to kind of see where we are and where we need to go.
And then we noted UCLA at UCLA on August 28th, and a chance to go back. This is a team that came into Provo #1 in the country, and you sent them home with a loss. So
yeah, they weren't #1 when they went home.
So this is kind of a fun rematch, but down at their place. What are you looking forward to in that one?
Well, they returned most of their players, plus they picked up some huge transfers, plus they usually have the #1 ranked recruiting group in the country. So UCLA is always a powerhouse, always good, always a challenge. Even though I think we got the best of them, they loved coming and playing in the competitive environment of South Field. So we set up another home and home. So we'll get them back out here probably in 25 or 26. So that's just a quality opponent that can really test us. They're going to be a lot more experienced than we are this year, but I love the way that it's going to challenge and push us and prepare us for Big 12 play.
It's interesting that you talked about North Carolina as the great moment from last year in a year of so many moments, but the UCLA win in front of that crowd.
We were there at that one as well. It was huge.
It was just it catapulted you to the #1 ranking in the country.
The weirdest thing about that one, Jen, for me is that's a Big Ten team also. UCLA is a Big Ten team. That's the weirdest thing to me, right?
It really is. That's a tough one. And having Utah back in our conference, that's a new thing. To not have the Pac-12 just seems really strange, I think, for probably every sport. But yes, playing UCLA as a Big Ten team seems a little wild. I didn't see that one coming for sure.
What about September 7th? You're going to take the squad to Arkansas out of the SEC. Nice job, Coach, putting this thing together.
You already mentioned the #2 ranked toughest schedule in the country. Who has one? I look at this one. I can't imagine anybody's tougher than that. Who's #1?
I think Penn State is. I think Penn State, they usually are super competitive. And, we've been out, we've done a home and home with Arkansas. And so it just happened to fall at a weekend. And we're like, you know what, let's just go for it. It's again, we're building for the future. And to have these type of opponents and these type of experience, they have an unbelievable crowd and fan base at their home games. We've been out there before. We'll get them back here down the road, and I think it's just going to make us better. And you have to really go out there and play the best competition if that's where you want to be. You got to know where you got to be to prepare to be the best, and that's what we're trying to do. We want to be in the College Cup. We want to win a national championship, and you got to play those teams to see what you need to continue to improve on.
Well, and your RPI, right? There's been years when the WCC just didn't have it, and you had a dominating team, and then you have years where they might have a bunch of ties, but you played everybody, and so your RPI is so high that you get a decent seed. You got Arizona State, which is the Big 12 home opener on September 12th. So 5 days after Arkansas, you start to get back into league play that you want to win, obviously. What have you hoped that schedule prepared you for when the Sun Devils take the field at South Field?
Well, Arizona State is, again, typically year to year an NCAA tournament team.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of talent. It's weird, again, to say Arizona State is our first Big 12 game. But we usually play them every spring, both Arizona and Arizona State. So we've played them a little bit, but not during a fall season. So just looking forward to get that started back up. We're at Arizona. And so those are the three teams that we'll play every year kind of in our pod is Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. And then we'll kind of cycle through the rest of the Big 12 over the years. And so but, our season opener against the Big 12 with TCU last year was quite a show, quite an experience.
Yes.
And so I just hope that we can, make it just super competitive and fun for our fans to come out and support us.
You mentioned Utah. Utah's at your place, so they got to come to South Field on September 23rd. That's a Monday night.
I love that that's a Monday night.
I love that it's a league game too. There's enough going on with the rivalry anyhow. Now to have them in the league, do you get excited about having them in the league, back in the league, and playing every year as part of the pod?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. We've played Utah every year since they've been in the Pac-12, so it's nothing new, but I think it certainly kind of brings back that old rivalry that we had back in the old days when we're in the same conference. I think everyone, the fans and the players, will feel that rivalry a lot more. I don't think we've considered it a rivalry a ton in the last several years, just because it's kind of just one of our other non-conference games. I think there's much more on the line than ever being a conference game, and I think that's great. I think it's great for the state. I think it's great for our fans, both Utah fans. I think we filled their stadium last year when we were up there, and one of the biggest crowds they've ever had, and so I'm sure we'll get a great crowd when we play them down here.
Yeah, they won't be filling your stadium down here.
You'll be filling your stadium,
they won't get any
we
tickets.
actually had more fans up there. I think it was probably half and half for sure, blue and red at their home place. So
that's awesome.
We had a lot of Cougar Nation come up to the Ute Field last year. That was a lot of fun.
Big 12 tournament.
Scored some good goals.
Absolutely.
Yes.
October 30th in Kansas City is when the Big 12 tournament starts. Will it be strange? It was just 1 year, but you look around and there's no Texas, and it was you and Texas last year. Now they're out, and Oklahoma's out. They weren't. They're not Texas in soccer, but as you go back to that tournament and Texas isn't there, you look around. Are you the team to beat?
Well, we certainly hope so. We always want to have that target on our back. We want to be the team to beat. That's kind of what we strive for all the time. And Texas was a great team. We got them in the regular season.
Yeah.
They got us in the championship game, and I'm excited to have a tournament out at Kansas City. They have a brand new soccer stadium built for their NWSL team. So it'll be, one of the best stadiums that any conference can play in for their tournament. So look forward to that, and obviously plan on playing in that and doing well. But we still have a lot of work ahead of us before that. But Texas kind of had a bit of a home field advantage. Most of the games in the tournament were played at their place last year because of the weather. So I think Kansas City will be a great venue for the Big 12.
I don't think Texas got to the College Cup. Do you remember Texas getting to the College Cup?
I remember a team called BYU that made it to the College Cup. So
hey, does it bug you, or do you love the fact that you lose 11 players as good as last year's team was, and the fan just goes, well, Coach Rockwood will just get some more?
Yeah, they'll be back in the Cup again this year.
Well, that's what we'll shoot for. This will be a unique experience for me. I think this will be my 30th season, which I can't hardly believe that it's been 30 years here, but I've never been in a situation where we've had this much turnover. Even that first year in '95, we had a club team, and I just added 6-7 girls to that club team. So that's typically what we've been able to do each year, is just kind of reload and get forward. And we hope to think that we're reloading again, just not as much experience, but that experience will come with these big games that we'll be playing in. And that's our plan. We've got a young team. We'll return pretty much everybody for the 2025 season. So, really looking forward to working with this group for the next several years and see if they can do what our senior group did last year.
30 years is amazing for someone who's only 40. I don't even know how that.
What in the world is going on?
I just turned 40.
Jen, the crazy thing is there's very few coaches in the program that have been around as long as Dave and I, and you've been there almost as long as us. We're a little over 30. We've been doing it a little more than 30.
We're a little,
which is crazy.
I'm trying to catch. Well, I coached the club team for 6 years prior to that, so I'm really at year 36.
That's unbelievable.
Catch up to you guys?
You might got past this.
No, did she?
Yeah.
So my first year broadcasting and covering Cougs was 1987.
87. We were doing.
Yeah, so you got me. I graduated from BYU in '89.
89.
And started coaching that next fall.
In 90. So. And Dave, you and Jen are about the same.
You've confirmed that Blaine is so much older than the two of us.
So Jen, here's what I did though.
That's good because I feel like I'm always the oldest person in the room. So I appreciate that you can be maybe a few years older than me.
That's right.
Well, and Tom Homo's like 3 ahead of me, but he left for a while and came back, so he doesn't even count. You and I have been here.
Yeah, you can't count him in the equation.
We've been continuously. My wife gave me some good advice, and so she said that I could stop celebrating birthdays, and now what I do is I celebrate the anniversary of my birthday. So
there you go.
For like a number of years now, I've been celebrating the anniversary of my 50th birthday instead of just continuing on. So I'm still 50, but I just do anniversaries.
It's quite the racket.
That's what I'll start doing. I'm still 52.
He still expects gifts.
I did actually this summer. I looked up how many years Lavelle Edwards was the head coach at BYU, and I do have him beat now.
Yes.
That's
oh yeah.
Crazy?
I don't think
that's pretty wild.
You may be. Is there anybody that has your tenure in any sport ever at BYU? You've got to have it now.
Bruce does. Bruce Brockbank.
That's
He's got me
right.
by a few years.
And Gordon Eakin can't be too far behind, right?
Yep. Gordon's been around and they both done such a great job.
That's right.
Yep.
So you and Gordon and Bruce are all in that same
big three.
vintage. That is awesome.
Hey, we'll see you Saturday. We look forward to seeing your team, and best of luck this season. We look forward to having you back on the show. And
we love having you on, Jen. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.
Ed, say hi to the team for us, and we'll see you out
there.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Okay, bye.
There she is, the winningest and the only BYU women's soccer coach, program history. She's just cruising along. 30th season. Yeah. And it starts on Saturday with the blue-white game at 7 Mountain Time on the BYU TV app and on ESPN Plus.
So her first year was 90 as the coach.
That's great. That's great stuff. And I'm glad she's had a very busy day with the team all together.
Their first day is a bit because there's a lot of stress because you kind of have everything going on. Compliance wants. We're talking about what football does tomorrow. That's what Jen and her team did today, plus a bunch of interviews and almost like a media day and picture day all in one. And she still took the time to come on with us, which is just awesome. Yeah. So
hey, next week, by the way, John Beck, Sean and Heather Olmstead together.
Yeah.
The men's volleyball coach and the women's volleyball coach.
And they're going to be in studio with us together,
They'll
right?
be in studio. Remember, we had Sean here in January, and he said, I'll get my sister to come.
Yeah,
we'll come together. And voila, it's going to
awesome.
happen. August 12th, Ty Mattingly, Dave Almodovar, who's in charge of all that pregame stuff that goes on in the stadium, and we're going to have a couple of the Rock students.
Yes,
we'll see what they got planned.
This could be a new experiment. We're excited.
August 19th, BYU President Shane Reese, Utah President Taylor Randall, and Austin Colley. That'll be a loaded show as we creep closer to the opening week. By the way, Gary Scheide and Larry Carr. This is the 50th anniversary season of BYU's first bowl game. So those two big shots of 1974, they'll be with us. We'll also talk to the pilot who's going to fly over the stadium on opening night. And that's just a little bit of what we've got coming in August.
Yeah, there's some great stuff. Hopefully we got another big one that's going to come on in the month of August as well. Yeah,
we're just working on the right dates and the right time. Hey, let's do our defense drinks promo. Do you want to
let's do it.
Hold that up? We got the helmet over there. now that's also
But I
kind of there.
I messed it up.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to hang down in
Yeah,
the
but
middle.
when you bump the table, it goes right up to
I
this.
bumped it, and I can't.
Yeah, it's the you need the magic
Yeah,
wand.
you have
down
to have
here.
a magic
We'll
wand.
fix it. We'll fix it later.
But-
Defense Drinks is a drink that does more. In addition to hydration or pre-workout, it helps strengthen your joints, reduces soreness, and is sweetened with allulose, so it won't spike your blood sugar or disturb your insulin levels. Save 10% on your order at defensedrinks.com using promo code WiseGuys. Blaine usually has a defense drink during the show.
I'm having
and
one
that's
right now.
happening right now. So while you mix that, let me. There's our.
This is
little
college,
thing.
and I need college. I've been traveling.
Yeah,
Came home,
you need
got
that.
a bloody nose because it's so dry. Joints are aching because I'm old.
It's a wonder you're even here.
Yeah, but the defense
we
drinks
are.
keeping me going. They're keeping me going.
Let's do the Cougar Board question of the week while you mix up your defense
Got it.
drink.
I'm ready to go right here.
If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans with thousands of posts daily. And today's question comes from Joe Banks, who's one of their insider subscribers. We talked about it with Jen Rockwood, and we learned some things. And his question is, will the removal of scholarship limits be good or bad for BYU? Will it depend on the sport? More specifically, what plans do you think coaches Eyestone and Taylor have for the new cross-country and track roster size challenges? Now, if you remember what Jen just told us, it's soccer goes from 14 to 28, but then they don't want more than 28 on the roster.
They limit the total roster
So
number.
all of a sudden you have fewer players, but you have more on scholarship.
Everybody's on scholarship, but you can't have basically you don't have walk-ons.
Right. And track and field, that number will balloon if they go to what is allotted to them.
We were talking 45 from 17, wasn't it? And so you know what?
On paper, it seemed nice, but then after listening to the coach, it's like, whoa.
Joe, we have to say, after our conversation with Jen Rockwood, it raised both of our eyebrows here. All four of our eyebrows.
That's right.
Because we went, whoa, wait a minute. We didn't understand the downside of that.
Cap.
Yeah, and Jen said certainly it's better to get more money to our athletes and to have more scholarships available.
And you get better players with scholarships.
But they have been operating on a 35 to 37 person roster.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be limited to 28. So we're going to have to do some research to get to the final answer on this, but to talk to Diljit and to talk to Ed about whether or not there's going to be roster limits at this point that go along with the increase in scholarships. We don't know the answer to that now.
And is football capped at 105 for the overall roster?
It
Think so.
It can't be.
But does it kill the walk-on program?
Here's the thing. It used to be 105 and 136 back in the old days. Then it went to 85 and 105. It's always been, once the first day of school started, you could do whatever you wanted.
You have the whole student section.
Right, you could have 200 on the roster so what it was you can have 85 on scholarship. You can start fall camp with 105 total on your roster. And then on the first day of school, you could add 30 walk-ons if you want. And so I wonder if there's going to be something like that. And it sounds like that Jen's, the coaches now, they just announced this changed, and the coaches are now just being briefed and trying to understand the fences that are around how that works. And Jen discovered there was a downside to it for her. So,
hey, developing news on the live stream as we welcome Timothy from Perth, Australia, back with us.
How about, yeah.
So tonight on the stream, we're in Australia,
Yeah.
we're in the Philippines, Singapore, and Kuwait.
How about
In addition
that?
to all over the United States.
Yeah, all over the United States. How about that?
That's cool.
And a special thing. It's special thanks to everybody. But if you're out running at 3:30 in the morning in Kuwait
Listening
and
to
you're
the Wise
listening
Guys.
in, we want to give you a hug. If we can give you a hug, we give you a hug. You're
Yeah,
too
be
far
careful.
away. And thanks for joining. I don't even know what time it is in Perth, Australia. In the Philippines, we found out it was 8 in the morning, right?
Yeah, and Perth is tomorrow. We
Yeah.
should find out what the score of Jimmer's 3-on-3
All I
thing
know
is.
is
and
my body doesn't know what time it is because
You're all sorts of jacked up.
my alarm went off this morning in Spain, in Barcelona, at 3:30 a.m. there, which was 8 o'clock last night here. So I got up at 8 o'clock last night here, and I flew home, and I just got in a couple hours before the show, went home, changed clothes, and came over.
Yeah, you're not even going to remember half the stuff
How many
you've
hours
already
have I been
said.
up in a row right now? I don't even know how many.
I don't know, but you've got momentum, so
Let's
you've got one more hour.
just keep going, baby.
Hey, let's give you an update on our Olympians. Jimmer, by the way, starts pool play in the men's 3x3 basketball tomorrow afternoon. USA against Serbia. That's number 1 against number 2 when you talk world rankings. 2:35 p.m. Mountain Time on NBC.
Yeah, right on the mothership.
Yeah, so that's where that's all going to start. Now, Jimmer's one of 9 current or former Cougars competing in the games. That's the most ever in a single Olympics for BYU. And already one is headed to the medal rounds.
That's right. A former BYU women's basketball player, Stephanie Rovetti, and the USA women's rugby sevens team have qualified for the medal round for the first time. They'll face defending gold medal Olympic champion New Zealand tomorrow morning at 7:30 Mountain Time on USA Network.
Yeah,
so
that's
7:30 a.m.
Not going to be easy taking on the New Zealanders.
Yeah, Canada and Australia meet in the other semifinal, and then the gold medal and bronze medal matches will also be decided tomorrow. So
what that tells
sevens
me
is a really fast time frame.
Yeah.
Like they're really short games. They're not normal length games.
What that tells me is it's going to be the United States against Canada for the bronze. That's what that tells me. Because you got New Zealand and Australia, and we're talking about rugby.
And I flew through Paris this morning, early, like it's the middle of the night here. But we flew home with one of our Provo High grads that was on the men's rugby national team, played at Provo High. And they
got bounced.
Yeah,
right?
they finished 8th, and they were expected to finish higher.
Strength.
No,
not our strength. The tracksters, by the way, that's later on in the Olympics. We'll keep you posted each Monday night. In golf, former Cougar Patrick Fishburne finished the 3M Open in a tie for 6th place over the weekend, a payday of just over $293,000.
Yeah, how about that?
Nice job. And getting some FedEx points with that performance. There's just some basketball news.
Yeah.
John Rothstein reporting today that BYU is going to face Ole Miss on the first day of the Rady Children's Invitational in San Diego on November 28th. So folks in that area wanting to see the Cougs, they got Ole Miss on the 28th. Then the next day they'll play either Purdue or North Carolina State.
I imagine they play the winner or loser depending on what they do the next day in that. The NCAA released its Division I leaders in attendance from last season. North Carolina number 1. They averaged 20,593 fans. Kansas was number 9 from the Big 12, 16,300. BYU comes in at number 10 in the country, top 10, at 15,689. So the next closest Big 12 team is number 16, Arizona, who averaged 14,392 in their final year in the Pac-12. So BYU's number 2 in the Big 12 in attendance, right behind Kansas. And not only that, they're top 10 in the country.
They should pass Kansas this year because they can only fit so many in Allen Fieldhouse, and BYU, as I understand it, have sold all their basketball seats.
Yeah, and people
that's
have caught
18,000.
People have caught on that there's some crazy talent going to go out on the floor for BYU this year. Multiple NBA potential guys, a couple of potential first-round draft picks, and everybody's really curious.
Yeah.
So season tickets have gone nuts.
You know who's going to be with us on game day on opening night? August 31st, we'll have Kevin Young.
Yes, he will.
On set with us. We're also going to have the Youngs here in studio. We're just working out the best time on that one. But that's going to be big time. There's some really fun stuff coming.
Doesn't it feel like there's a lot of momentum in the program overall?
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, whenever I talk to Jen Rockwood, like we just did,
we feel like we're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Because Jen just, we got a lot of new players, but, that's what we expect. Yeah. We want to target on her back.
And
we're going to win
volleyball, they're going to be good. Yeah. And then we'll have Heather Olmstead next week, and we'll figure out that. And Texas is out. Texas was not only a beast in women's volleyball, they're a beast in soccer. And they're gone. So now it's an opportunity for BYU. Earlier in the show, we went through where all these Cougars were in NFL camps.
Right.
A couple of things have happened this week that I thought were interesting. And this, I think, is why NIL and the money grabs going on in college, because the college kids see what's going on in the NFL. Just the highest paid quarterbacks alone. And by the way, the top 5 we're going to read, none of them won the Super Bowl.
No.
But they're all making bank. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million. Joe Burrow, $55 million. Jordan Love announced this week with the Packers. $55 million this season. That's what they're making this season. Tua got his deal over the weekend, 53.1. And then you got Jared Goff rounding out the top 5. He's going to make $53 million for the Lions. And Dak Prescott's deal hasn't been done yet. That's coming in too.
How is Patrick Mahomes not in the top 10? He's number 12
at a meager
$45 million,
and he's got Super Bowls. So you tell me Trevor Lawrence is worth more than Patrick Mahomes, and I know that's
who's the best player in the league? Is the best player in the league not Patrick Mahomes?
It has to be.
How does that? But sometimes it's about when your contract comes up
and all that stuff. And the market's crazy because in 1990, Joe Montana, Mr. Super Bowl himself, was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL in the 1990 season, and he made $2.5 million. Now, Trevor Lawrence is going to make $55 million this season. Joe Montana, all those years ago, made $2.5, and that was a lot of money.
Yeah,
for a quarterback
back in those days.
But man, now it's just crazy. And Dak Prescott, because it's the Cowboys, Jerry Jones. I would imagine he's going to be up near $60 million a season for a guy who can't win the Super Bowl or get to it.
Yeah, it's nuts to me.
So that's NFL money. By the way, the first college football games, now that we're knocking on the door of August.
We can talk about it.
Saturday, August 24th. That's just not far away. Florida State's going to play Georgia Tech in Ireland. That'll be the first game we see.
Yeah, that same Saturday, you want to tune in because this is BYU's opponent on the road in week 2. SMU is at Nevada. So you want to preview SMU, you got to watch them.
Yeah, and Nevada isn't very good this year.
No.
And so that's going to be a big night for SMU. Delaware State is at Hawaii on the 24th. And then later that day, actually before the Hawaii game because they play,
right,
Hawaiian time. But Bronco Mendenhall is going to make his New Mexico debut as the Lobos host Montana State. And it's just going to be a little different seeing Bronco Mendenhall on the sidelines again in Albuquerque.
Yeah, and he's brought, he's got Jason Beck as his offensive coordinator
BYU
down
staff,
there.
his Virginia staff.
He's got a bunch of former BYU guys down coaching at New Mexico, which is going to seem strange. It doesn't seem strange for Bronco. That's where he kind of cut his teeth and became a defense coordinator under Rocky Long's tutelage. But it seems weird to see all those BYU guys down there. Longtime rival of BYU, longtime league partner.
And they took over the doormat of Mountain West with New Mexico. So how fast can they turn them into something?
And here's the thing. I think they will turn them into something down there because Bronco understands what it takes to win down there. Because when he was there before with Rocky, they won. And fans got a little impatient. Rocky was winning 8-9 games and going to bowl games. That wasn't good enough.
And he had some NFL players.
And so he left. And then they found out, hey, maybe we should have been a little nicer to Rocky. Maybe we should have kept him here a little longer.
Yeah. And then Gary Croton's going, I like that Lobo defense.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to hire Bronco as my defensive coordinator.
There you go.
On this day, as we roll out in style here on the Wise Guys, and we'll get done a little earlier tonight. How about that?
That's okay, since I flew and have been up for 100
hours.
on
your body clock. On this day, July 29th. I can't believe it's July 29th. 1751. The first international world title prize fight. A guy named Jack Stack of England defeated M. Petit of France in 29 minutes over there in England.
So they just stand in the ring and box each other until 1-1 for like 29 straight
29 minutes? I don't know how they had do rounds or any of that stuff. Maybe they just said, hey, just you guys are fighting for 48 minutes. But anyway, in 29, Jack Stack of England won the first international world title prize fight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No one cares because it wasn't in Vegas.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, up in the chat, just as a reminder, Jack just put up for us, we still need 2 more foursomes for a charity golf tournament. So the Ephraim Hope tournament, that's coming up here this next week, Tuesday, August 6th. Come play around for these kids. This is raising money to help these kids be able to afford the cost of an education.
So we got two spots for foursomes. Go to, if you're listening on the podcast, it's www.ephraimhope.org and then look for the golf link. On the live stream, the link is right there on your screen. I know some of our friends from Riverside are going to be there.
Yep.
And they're going to play some golf at Cedar Hills and raise money for really good cause.
And you and I are going to be out there and say hello to everybody. And we have to go tape a show before the tournament's over, but we're going to be out there and say hi to everybody. And we're really excited to be one of the title sponsors of this tournament that's going to do so much good.
I'm glad you. I passed over that. I'm glad you brought that in there.
No, I just remembered that, and I saw that we put that up in the chat. I wanted to remind people of our involvement in that. So now we go back to this day. Because this is a very important day in my life. In 1835, the first sugar plantation was established in Hawaii.
That did wonders for the island.
It changed my eating habits.
It changed Hawaii.
Because I love sugar.
Yeah. 1899, the first motorcycle race took place at Manhattan Beach, New York.
1907, Robert Baden-Powell forms the Boy Scouts of America. 1899.
1954 on this day.
Or 1907, yeah.
The first publication of Fellowship of the Ring which is the first volume of Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. How much money did that thing make over the course of that?
Oh, my God. The books and then the movies. And by the way, I went to a place called Montserrat a week ago in Spain. I felt like I was on the scene of a Lord of the Rings movie.
Did you see any of those characters?
I was waiting for a dragon or something to come flying out. It was amazing. So, 1958, President Eisenhower established NASA.
On this day in 1967, Light My Fire by the Doors hit #1 in the U.S. You can still hear them on classic rock.
Come on, baby, light my fire.
It's a classic. It's a long song, but it's a classic.
That's good. 1996, Tommy Lasorda retires from the Dodgers with 2 World Series titles in his pocket.
Personality. Baseball personality.
One of the greats.
On this day in 2018, BYU alum Jack Morris is enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York.
How about some July 29th birthdays? 1915. That's hard to believe. Bruce R. McConkie was born on this day in 1915.
1937, Charles Schwab was born. 1938, Peter Jennings. Remember him from Nightly News on ABC?
And then 1953, Geddy Lee from Rush.
Yeah.
Rush was one of your bands, right?
I think it's Duff Tittle's band. We had him on. It's one of everyone's band. They're just classic. 1966, Martina McBride.
I like Martina McBride.
Yeah.
Great country star. You mentioned this guy. His contract's being negotiated. 1993. Is he really that young? Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback.
And he's on the cusp of a major deal. And then he'll be happy with the Cowboys. They're talking maybe $60 million for this season.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 29th of July deaths, 1108. Philip I, this caught my attention. Philip I, the king of the Franks, died on this day in 1108. And I thought, and we had some boxing news earlier, I thought, king of the Franks, what if he fought Oscar Mayer in the ring?
The king of the Franks against Oscar Mayer. Because Oscar Mayer thinks he's the king of the Franks.
Exactly. And who is the king of the Franks? Philip. He's like, I'm the king of the Franks. But here in 2024, I think Oscar Mayer's the king of the Franks
for sure. So
I'd like to see that.
1890, Vincent van Gogh.
How about that?
Yeah.
2024, on this day, as we speak, Ken Schmidt, longtime BYU assistant, defensive coordinator, spent 21 years in Provo with the Cougars, retired in 2002, so he was a part of all those winnings. Ken Schmidt passing away. It was either late last night or early today, and he's part of that Lavelle Edwards legacy.
Yeah, he came in 1982. I came in 1981. Ken came in 1982. Was a phenomenal defensive coordinator. Guys loved him. Guys would run through a wall for him, but he coached with an edge. His defenses played with an edge, and he coached greats like Kurt Govea and Leon White and Jason Buck, and that great run in the early and mid '80s. We always talk about how great the offense was, but let me tell you something: the '84 national championship team, man, our defense won a lot of football games. That was a fierce defense, and Ken Schmidt, one of the great ones. He was a coach for more than 40 years, and he changed a lot of young men's lives.
I like to think that as he passed over, Lavelle's there, Dick Felt's there, all those key guys from that staff that spent so much time together who have passed on. Hopefully they're there to welcome him in after his time here on this earth has passed. Ken Schmidt passing away.
One of the greats.
Our Wise Guy's inspirational quote of the week is from Tommy Lasorda.
He had so many good quotes. Yeah. He was a great one. I'm trying to remember the old New York Yankees guy was the other one.
Yogi Berra.
Oh yeah, and Yogis were kind of always like you had to think for a minute because they didn't quite make sense. But Tommy's
a lot of them didn't make sense.
Tommy's always made sense. So Tommy said there are 3 types of baseball players: those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, and those who wonder what happened.
So, isn't that true about life?
So true.
And baseball and all that stuff. Those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, and those who wonder, how did that happen?
What happened? Yeah.
You got them on a football team too.
Yeah.
You're all out there with 11 guys. You break the huddle. You're a quarterback. You break the huddle. You're going to have somebody who's going to make it happen, somebody who's going to watch it make it happen, and someone's going to come back in the huddle and go,
hey, what just happened?
What just happened?
Did we score? That's
That's
for sure.
classic. Tommy Lasorda. Our special thanks to Jeff Hansen and soccer head coach Jen Rockwood. Next week, John Beck, Sean, and Heather Olmstead. And we're also going to try to get one of the assistants that hasn't been on from Kevin Young's new staff next week. We'll keep you posted on social media, but we look forward to another show. Next week, we're in August. The team reports tomorrow. You and I will be watching them practice on Wednesday.
We'll have some practice news for you by next week. So.
Yeah. And we're watching that quarterback battle. We're watching some position battle. We're watching, when we see that practice on Wednesday, we know some guys aren't going to be there.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of the physicality of this game. And there's some guys who are going, who's that guy? And he's going to be a difference maker.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll keep you posted. We'll have a lot of news by next week. And, hey, I hope everybody knows my shirt tonight.
Yeah, let's see.
100 years of BYU football.
Did Gavin bring that home for you?
Yes, I was gone. They had a big reunion.
Saturday nights on BYU TV.
And a bunch of the players got together. They did pictures. All three of my boys who played at BYU got together. Yeah. They were texting me over in Europe saying, Dad, this was so cool. Wish you could have been here with us. I wish I could have been there.
You can watch it on the BYU TV app.
Yeah.
Sitting there waiting for you. It was a great 2 hours.
They brought me home a T-shirt, so I feel like I was part of it.
I'll be on Sports Nation tomorrow morning, and then you'll be on Sports Nation Wednesday,
I got it Wednesday, Thursday,
and then I'm back on Friday.
Yep. So we're covering it this week.
We got all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah. Is it you and I and Spencer covering it all week?
It feels like it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I covered it last week while you were in the Himalayas.
We got this.
Having your stuff.
We got this.
And thanks to Brian Logan who filled in for you. Did a nice job.
He just texted me on my way here saying, "Are you back safe?" So I appreciate Brian filling in for me the last couple of weeks.
Good to have you back. The podcast will be up tomorrow. Share it with your friends. And always remember, Wise Guys is presented by BradyPlus. For Blaine Fowler, I'm Dave McCann. Have a great week, and we'll see you later on.
Yeah, we'll see you.